Even though
there's two different kinds of bread people, I think.
That's true.
That's what I think too.
Fix might be the different kind.
We need to do an episode on bread people and get into the subtleties of the bread.
That's the next one.
Species.
Yeah.
It's a subset. It's a subset of this Bermuda conversation.
We should literally do that next and discover all the different subspecies of bread people.
Bermuda's kind of going fuzzy. I think even that is a hexad bias towards the wrongness of attachment.
The big hormone enneagram.
I'm John Lekovich, 415, sexual self-pres, 458 Trifix.
I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 Trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing 7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a social self-preservation 9-wing 1, 963 Trifix.
Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and leave us a review. If you want to support the show with a donation, you can find us on Venmo at Big Hormone and paypal.me/Big Hormone. How did we start doing the Bermuda overlay? I guess it was just a random idea, but I didn't think it was going to become like a whole extremely distinct thing as we went along.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
It's major. So fucking major.
Yeah, even in the imagery. I guess with Bermuda, it's like you get to see those secondary energies pretty clearly. Yeah. And so it's almost like, 369 is just like, not to say it's just transparent, but it sort of acts as a transparent filter for these secondary energies. And so it's like all those secondary energies really pop in a way that you wouldn't expect.
With Bermuda, it's kind of like,
totally.
I think we said it on that Tinder thing. It's kind of like you're not advertising as a personality. You're not advertising those specific things, which are in the sort of the wings kind of in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That specific flavor. And so until you get to know the person kind of thing. Yeah. And then it's like,
bashful
start. It's like, oh shit. This person's way 145 or 125.
That makes me laugh every time I hear it.
Yeah.
We went in on that one.
I know.
The last couple ones were like, we were going in. The 258, we went in.
I didn't listen to most of them.
Is that the Amazon fulfillment warehouse one?
Yeah. That's some of our best work.
Oh, and 278 getting head honcho.
The getting head honcho.
Oh my god.
Also a really good one. Yeah.
So
that's like the big man on campus Bermuda. Right?
Yeah.
278.
The diva.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The diva.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
I mean, if we don't do it today, we need to do an episode on just the variety of Bermuda stuff. Like what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know what the angle would be. I mean, because it's just a endless, you don't want to hit all the different varieties, but
I mean,
it could just be like a free-flowing thing like we're doing now.
Yeah, because 3-wing-2 has a fix. That's a very significant shift in terms of the role that the person is trying to play in a social. Just like you have 3-wing-2, regardless of what else you have going on, if you have 3-wing-2 as a fix, that you have this teacher life coach thing that's going to be, because we just did like Teal Swan, and that's one of the weirdest typings we've seen, because she's like social blind, 3-wing-2 core. So she's got that.
Yeah, we switched her to 3-wing-2. So
okay, I was wondering what was going to happen there. Yeah,
the whole 3-wing-2 versus 3-wing-4 thing is still something that's like, whoa, that's most people, and that does explain a lot. Not just like my aversion to the social instinct, but it's like, no, it's my aversion to this sort of like upward. It's all getting better all the time. Mm-hmm. This is how you're getting better.
No, there's a lesson in everything. Yeah, totally. Did you guys hear P. Diddy's apology?
Oh my God. I just saw the roasts. I just saw people.
So you talking about the video where it's just him on camera?
I was going to give us a rap update.
Shut up.
He's been talking nonstop about Kendrick Lamar and Drake. It is so funny.
How did you get up on
an expert?
Put out some YouTube videos about it. Divert the center.
Do it.
Oh yeah, I should. Yeah, I know. I heard Joseph say something like he can't touch it again, and I was like, I'll touch it again. I'll do it. I've got
You'll
time.
Stay on it for another month.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched an hour-long breakdown of just the Euphoria song that came out. So I've got some shit to say.
She is in a fucking vortex of rappers.
I got a 5-wing, yeah.
Little cozy.
What was I going to say? The P. Diddy, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so that video, the hotel footage came out of him like beating the shit out of...
Beating the fuck out of that woman. Oh, yeah. It's
rough,
crazy.
Rough. If you guys haven't seen that. That was really intense.
I've seen it.
That was insane.
Yeah.
That was really intense. Something else that's making, with all of this like 3 wing 2, 3 wing 4 thing, I'm like, okay, have we noticed that it's the 3 wing 2s? You know? You know? Like, what? R. Kelly's, no, there's no 4 there. It's 2. Yeah. It's fucking creepy.
Yeah, you better do what they say, unless they really
are the bad. They really are
like
the bad
Omarosa. Like she's fucking insane. She's fucking aggressive, and it's 3 wing 2. It's the thing of just like, I know better than you.
Yeah.
And too bad, so sad for you that like you need me this much. You know, like 4 has the disgust of 4 actually gives itself away too much, and it actually like I think it takes away the I don't know, a certain kind of rejection power because it's like reactive, whereas 2 is just like, you can't bother me. Oh, it's so sad that you're so weak and small.
I mean, it's pride that's actually like sealed up, like sacrosanct. It's like it's impenetrable pride.
Yeah, so with the P. Diddy video, I don't know what he goes by now, with that video. So yes, the video, the hotel footage of him beating the shit out of Cassie came out, but then he like, way too in his face did like an apology video where his face is just like
I saw that. Yeah, no, and he looks
like,
hideous.
Really bad,
he looks
horrible.
like he's been doing drugs or drunk.
Awful. The worst image type ever. Yeah, and the video was like weirdly uplifting's not the wrong word, but you could tell that he was like wrapping up. Yeah. He was like wrapping it up with a bow. It's like, that was the worst time in my life, and I've atoned for my mistakes, and I've talked to whatever.
And there was so
I don't
much
know.
Bullshit. I saw him. He said, I knew at the time that this was wrong. Like, what? No, come on.
Yeah, no. Crazy,
as you were punching
as
her
you're
in the
punching
head.
her, as if he knew. Yeah.
There, like even in an apology video after
lying.
After overtly lying so much, he's still somehow, there's still somehow like an upward, like but everything's okay because look, I'm doing what's right. And so you guys just need to accept this and then everything will be fine again.
I think he's working with, there's rumors that he's working with the feds. That's why he's been protected for so long, because he's been up to some shady shit for decades. He's been known for a long time that he buses minors to his house, and he's got tapes on so many people. Just wild, crazy, like Epstein, mini Epstein level kind shit.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. What's Epstein? What's Epstein? Is he also 3?
He's a 3.
We don't know if he's a 3 and 2 though.
It's probably.
He seems like he's with 5 and 8 also possibly.
Nice.
Maybe,
those fucking creepy ass rejection types, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know why people. I have to look into. I don't know why people hate Teal Swan so much. Like, what does she do? She hasn't done anything that I know of.
It's all about suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh right, she's like very not PC.
Yeah, like I haven't really looked into her, but she's pretty open about suicide and not even like super against it, which I'm not super against either. I don't remember exactly her position, but it's like scandalous people who are like, you know, those people that just like. You mentioned suicide and have to like plug in like if you have any suicidal thoughts.
Right.
So she'll talk pretty like kind of blankly in a way about suicide and about like all right, go for it, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a problem. That's the problem.
That's the main problem.
Yeah. Well, the public's reaction is that she encourages suicide. That's of course how they're taking it. Yeah.
Right.
I was expecting some, because they were saying, "Oh, she's got a cult," and I'm like, "Why are people?" Because I looked through her stuff, and I'm like, "Why are people so pissed off at this woman? Like, what does she do? Other than that, she's like a sort of like a witchy lady who seems like she has nefarious intent, even though she probably doesn't. Like her videos are pretty newscaster style, as she's reading from a prompt or something, and I'm like, I'm looking for some controversy, but it's like maybe a social blind thing where she probably talks about really taboo topics in a way that doesn't feel, you know, she
doesn't
about
put all the disclaimers.
She doesn't do any of that stuff, and then maybe that's
she
really.
doesn't frame it.
But she's really popular. She's got almost 2 million followers on YouTube, so
I mean,
I think
she's really
a
popular.
little kooky, but like she's pretty. From what I like, there was a documentary called The Deep End, which was
Yeah,
about
I was going to mention that.
That I watched. I don't remember much about it, but you know, it's like kooky. It's like she's not somebody I would like be friends with or think is like a reliable source of stuff. But like, it's just people. It's the real issue is not even her. It's like that. There's a lot of people that are willing to give their autonomy over to her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're willing to make her like a little messiah or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit her too. just because
she's encouraging that.
Not only that. Not only is she encouraging it, but when people, this is like in the documentary too, when people do get angry at her, she does this like, and now we've decided that she's a triple rejection 3. Is that what we're finding out here?
Sure, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so when people don't like her, she does this like 2-wing thing where she's like, what is wounded in your soul that you're not able to receive my message?
Exactly.
You know, so that's
All
the
right.
manipulative part.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's like once they're already super attached and she like has them, I don't know if it's still like this, but she like has them all kind of like leave their family and live on the compound with them. There's this like very tight inner circle that she has a lot of leverage over.
Right.
So that's the part.
So she's got some cult classic.
Yeah, she's got some,
You know, to me too, though, there's a thing where it's like, I think you should be able to like fucking say and whatever the fuck you want to say. It's just like up to people to be like not stupid, you know, like
totally.
We have politicians. It's like that's a cult of another kind, and
Totally.
it's somewhat acceptable for people to become idiots for Trump or Obama or whoever the fuck.
Yeah, influencers.
Or people go to church and buy into some like weird religion or whatever else. But I think it's more threatening when you have like a singular figure who gets on YouTube and puts out videos for 15 years and gets devotion. I mean, we've fucking seen the craziness that we've seen with this fucking podcast and how much human beings are sort of looking for someone to fucking give away their autonomy even a little bit. Yeah. So to me, it's like y'all are just upset that she's influential, or are you mad that she's attractive, or
it's
what?
It's probably mostly that. It's probably a lot of, and maybe I'll get heat for saying this, but like it is probably a lot of fixated attachment, putting responsibility on her to only give good, provisions or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like you both sort of, I read this and what you guys were saying, but she is not really like I mean, again, I disagree with a lot of the stuff she says. She says kooky nonsense bullshit, but I don't care, but it's like she exists outside of this socially sanctioned cult, like you're speaking to, and like politician is like a socially sanctioned cult, like a religion is socially sanctioned cult, whatever. But yeah, she's like a weirdo cult, and so it's like that's why she's dangerous. And talking about suicide, and it's like for a lot of people, it seems like you Google suicide, you just get the suicide hotline.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's not, like, actual people talking about suicide in an open, like, honest way. And a lot of fucking people commit suicide. And so...
And a lot of people think about it
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like... I mean, it goes back to this whole 3-2 fix thing. That there's a lot of space to have a conversation about just being in the pit. Like that friend of mine who called me when he watched his girlfriend die instantly in their apartment, and it just fucked him up. And he didn't have any friends who were willing just to stay in that with him. I think I referred him to John because he lived in Brooklyn. But it just feels like there's where do people go to talk about just being in the dark, feeling like they're in a bottomless pit of despair. And so, when you're just stuck by yourself and there's no one who wants to be brought down by your shit, it seems like a good option to be like, I just want to end this.
That's true.
Yeah, it'd be cool if, that's one of my ideas anyway. I don't know if I'd manage it, but like, if there was a Discord or something where like, this is where you go when you're in the pit. Everyone in here is in the pit. And it's just vomiting your depressive, suicidal thoughts. And not to say that this is going to save anybody.
Right.
It could. But just being in a place where this is all that's happening.
No, that actually probably would be helpful, not to positive outlook it too much, but it actually probably would be. Kristen and I were talking a lot about like the heart fixes and just like the rejection heart fixes, in particular 4, and how 4, there's a certain way that the withdrawn quality prevented it from getting the proper mirroring that it needed, and so that's why the range is so narrow. You know, so like, especially if the world out there really only mirrors positive or competent things, right? And so being properly mirrored in like the negativity, in the reactivity, in the frustration probably does create a more like, I don't know what the word to use, just like a person with more like stamina or something like that. You know, it gives them more validation, more mirroring. Mirroring is not just an attachment type thing. Everybody fundamentally needs it to feel like they're a real person.
Yeah, it's kind of like people need to know they're not fucking crazy. You know, like to feel the way they feel, or to like experience things the way they experience. It's like that's part of the. I think that's part of the suicide. Actually, is like for some people, it's like just this is not my world because nobody's seeing things the way I'm seeing. Well, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that whenever I'm feeling like I'm in the pit, that the only way through it is just to sit there for however long it takes. And I guess for some people, just feeling like you're the only one in the world who kind of like feels that way, and everyone's sort of trying to pull you out of the pit. Like, oh, get in, work out, do something, you know, think more positive, you know, all that bullshit, which is not helping. Yeah, you might be in the pit for 6 months, it might be a year, it might be a couple years. So like, where do you go to be around other people who, to some degree, mirror where you're at?
Yeah. I was kind of interested, or maybe change the topic, but this Bermuda difference thing is pretty interesting because, like, I live with this little one, and then I experience a lot of, like, I don't know Kristen super well, but like I experience her as very different energetically.
Yeah.
And just
there's something
differences, of course, but there's just stuff of like what like just the type based thing. I can feel it, even though it's like a fucking wing on one type.
Literally, yeah. It's insane.
And like that's crazy. Like I don't know if that is the Bermuda like thing, and the other thing shines through, or like what the fuck that is. That's really
DG abstraction incoming, but like it's kind of like I put this in the Discord a while back, a few weeks ago or something. Just in metallurgy, you know, when you add just 1% or less of something like zinc or calcium or whatever to a molten metal, you know, like an iron or pure iron something, it completely changes the qualities of the flexibility, the heat resistance, the rust resistance. It's a wildly different metal when you just put in, you know, 1 to 5%, sometimes even less of a different element. It just completely changes what that metal could even be used for. So it's a really good analogy to me because it's I don't know, just that, because I think there is a quality to all the types that is actually elemental that way in an abstract way.
And it's like, is it the case that all types have that quality, like that just they're all the David metallurgy metaphor of like it's just that way for all the types, or is it specific to Bermudas? Like could you do those little nicknames and kind of cartoon caricatures of every combination of, you know,
fixes and
714 or something, and then all their wings, you know, like a 714 with a 6 wing and a 3 wing, and you know what I'm saying.
One of the things we realized that when typing people, that sometimes the mistake that people would make is you see the secondary fix. This is something we still struggle with, even with Bermuda, is sometimes it's like you're trying to figure out, is this a 9 or a 6? That's probably the biggest question we're always at, you know, trying to figure out. Because the secondary fix is pretty loud, that to the point where the wing on the secondary fix is pretty noticeable. And so I think what this whole looking at Bermuda thing is that, so okay, Bermuda is more transparent, and so these secondary influencers are easy to see. But on any type, the secondary fix is a lot easier to see. Like you can feel the wing on the secondary fix pretty loudly. So I think it just says something about like how, as individual energies, like a wing and a fix, or a fix with the wing, is something that you can feel in terms of how, if you look closely enough, that you would be able to spot it. And so the 3-wing-2 versus 3-wing-4 thing is just one of those where not just Bermuda, but across the board, that now that we know what it is, like we know what the differences are, that now it's like, whoa, this is such a huge difference. It's like even as a last fix, that it just pops so loudly now. Of course, we couldn't really see it before, so it feels like all the fixes probably are doing this. If you can, really zero in on what the difference is.
Yeah. To try to hit on kind of your question there, John, I think maybe one way to say it is, as far as on the question of, is it kind of just more pronounced in the Bermudas, this issue of, just even a difference on a wing on one fix? Like, it may be the case to say, just continuing the analogy, that like Bermuda in some sense is kind of like iron is, in the sense that it's the base and majority element in all kinds of steels and metals, right? And then, as opposed to like some other kinds of ores that become certain metals that only have very specific things that they do, such as gold or something like that, or I don't know, zinc, things, etc., where they only have very specific properties, which is kind of hexady, right? But like Bermuda's, the equivalent is Bermuda is like iron, like pure iron ore, get reduced down to just the pure iron, and then you add in trace elements of other things, and then you get all the different kinds of metals that are used for all kinds of utilitarian, functional stuff that gets stuff done in the world in a certain way, in the same way that attachment types are, just doing the stuff, right? Just
there's a receptivity. It's like carrier oils or something like that.
That's right. And that's another piece too. Yeah, and that's another piece with iron, in the metaphor there, is that iron does bond with all kinds of different things, and bond, right? So there's attachment,
We could be bonded.
Yeah. And then iron, like attachment, it's also, what is it, like, it's got a polarity to it. So then in it, in the symbolism there, it's got the attachment to disconnect, right? Because it's going back and forth like electrical charge, you know what I mean? Or magnetic charge. It's got the pushing away so that you can then reattach, magnets opposing, so that then we can be magnets, you know what I mean, to do the work of the attachment.
Yeah, it feels like the wings on the hexat types are in some ways easier to see. I think we've had a harder time with the attachment wings, well, 3 specifically.
I think with the 3 case, because I remember some 3 stuff coming up before we kind of came upon the real distinction. And I think there was an assumption that 3-wing-4 would just be more outgoing and more kind of, when you think of 3, you think of like, give me attention and take up space. Sure. And I think we were all operating from an assumption that even 3-wing-4 is much more like that. And then realizing how that 4 influence, how much that actually does, how distant and aloof that makes
it narrows.
I remember I taught a workshop for a group that worked for Facebook or Meta or whatever, and like the leader, she like immediately typed herself as a 3-wing-4, and the group like recognized her as a 3-wing-4, and she was like really aloof and cold and like not kind of like what I had previously thought of as 3-ish before that, and I was like, I was skeptical. I thought maybe she was some kind of sour 9 or something. And then through the conversation, it was like, no, this is a fucking 3, and thing about image and aesthetic all came out really like concretely and like clearly.
Yeah.
And so that was my first like taste of it before the whole Lewis Josh like throwdown that like ripped the Band-Aid off or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, it was just, I don't know, just that influence. I think thinking about isolating 3, it was hard to see 3-wing 4 as even still being in what most of us have probably thought was 3. You know, like even when we think of 9 going to 3, that still has a showiness to it.
Right.
Not to say 3-wing 4 isn't showy, but it's just not. It's just different than I'd suppose, at least.
We typed more 3-wing 4 cores than 3-wing 2s. Still, which is actually surprising. Even though
that's interesting.
I think that makes sense though for people who self-select in terms of personality stuff. Like Alexander and I were talking, and we were talking about what's more common, 9-wing 8 or 9-wing 1. And I actually think
1 by 4.
I think 9-wing 8 is actually more common than 9-wing 1. But
really?
on online communities and personality things, you're going to get more 9-wing 1s. Like
Yeah,
when you think of,
I guess that's possible.
And not like a working person, you know, like who are like your mechanics and like, you know, you're like country bumpkins and stuff like
not
that.
even in the country, it's just wherever, you know, like, like you're not going to get, they're not going to maybe be as like online and like, you know, like that particular version of introversion or something that like thoughtful kind of idealism kind of 9-wing 1.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion, but I think 9-wing 8 is more common.
It's like I think it's probably because we do skew more 9-wing 1, but I do think it's not like 50-50. It's I think it's probably like 60 9-wing 1, maybe 40 9-wing 8. Like that's like the closest in terms of wing distribution that I've seen. Because we probably get more 9-wing 1s. But even just like the corporate typings, because these are people that didn't seek us out. Like these are just random people that had to do this for their job. It's still pretty heavily 9-wing 1. Because I mean, if you just think about what's the most agreeable person, like if it was majority 9-wing 8s out there, the fucking sleepwalking through life thing. I mean, I don't know, like that doesn't.
Yeah, but there's a way that 9-wing 8 is good, is
more
better
sleep
for business.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
and they're numbing to more, right? Like they're numbing to keep their peace,
and it's better for leadership too.
That is true. I just think that the bread person archetype is heavily 9-wing 1 fixed or 9-wing 1 core. Even though
there's two different kinds of bread people. I think
that's true.
That's what I think too.
The 9 fix might be the different kind. Like
we need to do an episode on bread people and get into the subtleties of the bread.
That's the next one.
Species.
Yeah.
It's a subset. It's a subset of this Bermuda conversation.
We should literally do that next and discover all the different subspecies of bread people.
That's so mean.
All right, so
I was gonna. Okay.
Go ahead, baby.
Oh, that I was gonna say that like the basic you know, like the stereotypes of 9-wing 1. I actually do think like the dead asleep one is actually more 9-wing 8 than 9-wing 1. I think the like quiet, polite, mousy thing is more 9-wing 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the just kind of like sloppy, unreactive, kind of like, you know, heavy dead thing is more 9-wing 8.
Yeah. Surfer boy. Stoner.
Yeah. The himbo is 9-wing 8.
That's an interesting thing I'm curious. Is it possible?
When you think of who raided the Capitol, what type do you think?
Yeah.
You know,
those are 9-wing 8 fixtures.
Yeah, those are 9-wing 8.
Yeah, that's not a bunch of 9-wing 1 fixtures. Like, this would be rude, you know?
Yeah. I'm satanic and magical, but I'm polite.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know. It's all about the manners.
It's all the backwoods people that are going to be like the 9-wing 8s.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Right. So like in corporations, you might get more of an even distribution because you've like I've got to like
appropriateness and
elevate myself and like I aspire to be like whatever, but then like you just go to like
middle of America,
the whole landscape,
right?
Whole, you know, people are just farmers. Like I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
You know.
Farmers,
that's a good point. Yeah,
it's going to be pretty
and the people that are like survivalists and shit, those are 9-wing 8.
9-wing 8s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's got that cut off thing.
I was even looking at the Enneagram, like the actual symbol, and 1 and 8 are, they're even, and they're actually all on the same plane. Like 9, 8, and 1 are above. Yeah, like the 9, 8, and 1 are above that horizon line, where 4 and 5 are in like the underworld. You know what I'm saying? So it's making me wonder, like, are all the body fixes kind of even? They're above like even the heart and head are flanked on either side, but body's all the way up top.
And so
you know what I mean? So it's making me wonder that maybe there's just like an even distribution of the body fixes. Whereas like with the head types and the heart types, it's like 2 and 7 are more common than 5 and 4, because 5 and 4 are like under, they're in hell.
Well, yeah, I mean, where I go with that, and this may be too metaphysical for you guys, but like,
okay,
maybe a little too.
All right.
Too deep for us.
I mean, just try to follow me.
Try to keep up.
Us with no 7, us boring no 7 havers. Okay, all right,
exactly. So one thing that means with the gut up there, I've said it before in other contexts that you'll remember from my past seminars, but like, like 9 is the field of existence, and 1 represents order, and 8 represents chaos, and what kind of makes everything happen is the snaking together of chaos and order, right? Because like order happens and then it breaks down, right? And then a new order comes and then it breaks down, right? And it's destruction, creation. So point being that, and like you're talking about, Alexandra, with that sort of balanced scales at the top there, that could be indicative of like maybe a literal population relative 50-50ness of chaos versus order.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm kind of thinking that because neither of them are like in the underworld, that neither of them are in the underworld. If the body center is what carries us through on top of the horizon.
Yeah. Well, here's okay, I'll continue to see if you can follow.
Okay, thanks. Try to have some imagination.
So 8 represents the underworld in the overworld, right? Like 8 is the one.
Okay, sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that is the chaos and the darkness, and 1 is the Apollonian light and order, right? And so it's kind of alluding to just remember when you're looking in your idealized pantheon of gods, that darkness must be included.
Yeah,
right?
like
And that
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
that's like the Apocalypse Now is like the 8 underneath. I think you said this is like the end of when you eliminate civility, and I forgot to say this, or I didn't say this, but it seems like you have to have the jungle chaos before you could ever get to the civility. The only reason we have civility is because somebody's out here, fucking murdering people. We wouldn't have, if we didn't have someone doing that, then we'd all be in that.
Then we wouldn't create the order, the government, or whatever that makes the killing illegal, et cetera, or we wouldn't make the religion and set of principles about not killing, right? If there wasn't killing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think 8 represents like the sort of like animal brutality. It's actually, how do I say this? It's not like tonally colored in a certain way. It's just like a fact of life. Animals kill other animals to get to have their own survival instincts. It's just, it's the polar of 1.
It's in the literal shape of the numbers too, right? This is chaos. 8, swirl, 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 endless cycles of nature and animal reality, starting over and again, and it's up, down, going on forever. Whereas 1 is trying to say, no, it starts here, and there's a peak up here, and then when that peak, whatever, is destroyed, it starts all the way down at the bottom again, right? And we're pointing towards the sky, a high ideal, a singular principle of how things should be, right? There is a specific there is a specific sky law order of how things should be.
I mean, it's this whole thing of when you think of the life cycle of society, like if society broke down, we would be plunged into chaos, because what would be the point of a law if it can't be enforced? So you have systems to enforce it. We're not even going to get to that point if we're not safe and we don't have what we need.
Yeah, resources. Yeah, resources.
So
that's where it overlays between self-pres, social.
Wait. One of the things that I like when we start talking about like how human beings are, how nature is, it's sort of this like kind of like this presupposition that we start in nonsense and then found a way to find order or something. But like kind of went the opposite way, like we actually started with needing for parenting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like human beings were like fully formed and then like kind of decided to bind together. It's like a lot of the views of prehistory are kind of are based on like an archetypal view of chaos rather than like kind of like how historically it played out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so that's another element in that polarity between 8 and 1, is that whole space is also paradox space. So speaking of what you're talking about there is, like, if you really sort of saturated into the natural is kind of, which is kind of where I think you're going, like there is an actual just isness that is good. You know what I mean? Just like a
and I'm not even necessarily. I just mean like sometimes we start to frame like the way we think about like human nature or something in or like how systems organize based on. It's like we kind of start like really down the line developmentally, right? Like, but like part of what part of the reason our nervous systems are so sensitive, and it's not about like good or bad. It's just like this sense that we didn't become this sensitive because and then decide to like band together. It was like we actually kind of came from a highly sort of coherent, almost.
That's kind of what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. Kind of, we're sort of saying the same things, which is to say that the paradox is that there is already a natural order or system in that thing of that natural human nervous system sensitivity and the need for, and the parenting and the developmental thing. And I'm agreeing with you that like it wasn't necessarily cavemen, clubbing each other and you know what I mean, and dragging their woman by the hair to the cave or whatever. And then conversely, the one, the symbolic one side of the, that's overtly order, goodness, principles has its dark side, and it very much so, right? And so, sure. Point being that there's opposites within each. And part of like I don't know, just all kinds of spiritual whatever modalities is and some of the stuff that you do, John, with just consciously coming into the body in a more full way. That's tapping into that thing that I'm talking about. That's sort of in archetypal 8 space. That is the order of the just isness, as opposed to the one side, which would be applying order in a top-down way. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I the point I'm making is that we have a lot of systems that create order and safety that we experience more on this side of the world, but growing up in parts of the world that don't have those systems, that you see more of people's primordial instincts playing out. And, you don't see that here. And so you're sort of insulated from the sort of jungle law of existence because you're protected from it. And so part of the baseline, apocalypse now existence, like to the degree that you get to see that, is the degree that you live in a society that's prosperous enough to insulate you from the grim realities of jungle law. So like growing up in Nigeria, so you don't have 911. you can wander into the forest and never be found again. No one's going to look for you. Like there are certain realities of existence that you take for granted because we all live in a country where there's a baseline of safety and decency that sort of covers up the fact that if we didn't have those things, people would, if they knew they could get away with it, be murdering at a much higher rate. People live differently. What's stopping someone from coming in and just taking everything you have?
Back to resources, yeah, and protection.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm getting kind of in my biology background, whatever. But I think there's like a interesting way that there's sort of like a helix or whatever of like order and chaos depending on size of population and the way it's distributed, because you have a small social group and shame becomes a big control mechanism, but then it gets big enough where that it's not, you don't know everybody your whole fucking life or something like that, and then there's a lot of different groups, and then it becomes you can hide and whatever, and so then it becomes you can take everything you have, and then it requires a new level of ordering
control.
Things, and there's sort of this in and out like that.
Yeah. I mean, none of us have ever fought in any sort of war or been in any situation like that. But, just there's not a reminder that, we, at the end of the day, we do live in some kind of jungle and we are really protected from those realities. We don't really have to think about that. We've never really, most of us have never experienced any real crisis where, our access to basic necessities was at a real serious risk. How did we get there?
Talk about 911 versus 918.
Oh yeah.
The nines.
Yeah, I was offering. Yeah, I was offering that the body types might actually be even.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I mean, it is close. It's I would say 70, maybe 65-35, 911 versus 918. It's not. Yeah, we're probably skewing 911, but yeah, that's a good point. All the backwoods, trashy farmers are probably going to be all 918s.
Yeah, keep that in for the podcast. That description right there.
Yeah.
I want you all to hear that.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
The thick farmers.
Yeah. I was going to say too that I think and this was already said, David already said this by bringing up iron and, trace elements and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the difference is just going to be, I think, more strongly felt. And maybe somebody opposed this, but I think it's going to be more strongly felt in the attachment type, because it's almost like dropping food coloring into water or something like that.
Yeah, clear water.
It's just you're just going to see it. It's just going to be felt more.
I mean, one way to that vividly expresses it is that when you look at any overlay, essentially, especially when it's an overlay that actually makes a typical Trifix, right? In other words, not a 888 situation or whatever. But for example, me, 974 triple fantasy, my overlay is 136 middle manager workaholic, right?
Nice.
Hello, that just doesn't even
Karen.
make sense, right? Yeah. Karen, yeah.
Mm-hmm. David the Karen. Yeah.
David the Karen.
The other thing that makes it easy to do Bermuda overlays is that because of the way the types are structured and everything, that the overlays are always going to be triple hexad.
Right.
And so you neatly, some of the other types, not really interested in doing any of the other type overlays because they get wonky and they don't neatly fit into being these triple hexad. So we're looking at very distinct, clear secondary energies. So that makes it easy to sort of describe what's going on or illustrate what's going on.
One of the things I'm kind of interested in, I was describing how to somebody that there's an opposite dynamic with hexad versus attachment in terms of when they're coming together. So when you're forming a friendship or relationship with attachment type, they start with adapting. And once there's a sense of connection based on the adaptation or there's something reciprocity or something established, then their individuality comes out more strongly. And the opposite with hexad, where once their individuality is sort of acknowledged and embraced and allowed to be, then they get more adaptable on the back end. And so, like, that thing where attachment can, like, fuzz out from themselves. Like for Alexandra, like, your overlay, sometimes it's very loud. And then sometimes I think you can, like, hide it, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'm trying to get at here, but there's something in this talk about these different kind of, like, attachment or, like, Bermuda overlays and stuff like this. There's something there about the way that it can, like, come into view and hide, if that makes sense. That is, and I don't know if there's, like, different styles of hiding or something like that, but
no. I mean,
that's trying to get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what we're doing with some of the roast names, like hidden cactus, right? Or what was it? Bashful sarcophagus.
Bashful
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's like you're not going to know this.
Yeah.
You're not going to know about this about this person until you get to know them. Like, you know, because we start out like with like what we already knew or understood about the triple hexad already, but then we'd like, all right, so what would this look like in a Bermuda person where, oh, you think that they're just a Bermuda, but then you get to know them and they have this secret, for 278, this diva thing that comes out much later.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think all these Bermuda overlays is like, you're not going to see it at first.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was a big part of some of your early commentary about Alexandra as you guys getting to know each other. It's like finding out that she had all of these really specific things that she was like way into and had gone just like deep into and stuff, and it was really particular.
Back end freak.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, but that's I guess what I'm getting at is, like, when it comes to people typing or you're typing them and you're offering them their type, there's this factor of they can just, like, totally not see it.
What do you mean by that? Who can't see it? Like the Bermuda can't see it?
So like a couple years ago, like if we were to be like, hey, your type is the bashful sarcophagus, how much would you have recognized that?
I mean, I don't know, but and that's like part of the nuance now, though, is that I think people will be able to like find some being seen in the overlay because nobody types as Bermuda right away.
But what I'm getting at is not even that. It's like you being hidden to yourself. Like it's you know what I'm saying, like. Like that's a factor. Maybe I'm projecting how I think attachment types are or something, but like, in our process of getting together, it's not just like you had these things hidden. There's been a lot of you discovering the way you are.
How specific it is, yeah.
What was hidden?
When you're not feeling like you didn't have anybody in your environment that like mirrored or matched or spoke to those parts of yourself. And so they didn't feel safe to really be explored. And when they did come out, you would think there's something wrong with me. I got to cover it more.
Yeah.
I feel like Hexad doesn't do that as reflexively. So there's this other extra element of like what can be tough to uncover through attachment or Bermuda or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
And following from there too, then when you've got an attachment type with one or two hexad fixes, there's like in my case like almost a partly an obnoxiousness or chip on their shoulder about flashing the different colors, because you still do have this core attachment thing that has this let's say issue around sort of non-distinctness or something. And so like a DJ 9 is almost more obnoxiously 7-ish or can be, because they do have this one solid pole to grab onto.
Oh, yeah. That's the distinction.
And to make claim to difference or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. DJ attachments fucking love being DJs.
That's right.
Because that's the one specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me think that there's so when people come to the Enneagram and they identify as 4, 9s identifying as 4, 5 is like trying to grab onto some distinct, this is me, like even though they're still hidden to themselves. And part of what the 9 typing can feel like such a threat is because the 9 in the Enneagram to a lot of people represents like, oh, nothing. So it's sort of like, oh, because they feel like nothing and they don't feel like they're showing much. And so it's a type that is saying, oh, I've kind of reaffirming the worst fear, like I'm nothing. And I think what we've been able to do with making 9s great again is sort of showing all these inner dimensions of what 9 has, is getting people to see, oh, like there's a lot in 9 that I wasn't seeing. And then we get into Bermuda, which is like the most common and also kind of represents nothing. And there's a way that Bermudas are the most likely to sort of blend into the background and not show anything. Yeah. And so that typing became a way of like, oh, fuck, I'm nothing. But then the overlay was like, oh, there's these like intricate specificities that could be something. Yeah. And I have like, so it's a way like people have been finding ways to actually dig into themselves. It's like 9 doesn't actually represent nothing. It has these intricacies. Bermuda doesn't represent just nothing. There's all these influences that I could, so it's getting people to actually look within themselves and see, oh, I do have specific things that make me
and general personhood, I mean, part of the 9 thing is, one of the core pieces is, in some form or fashion, deeply unconsciously, is I don't matter, right? Like, and there's even a metaphor in there, matter, like I'm not even matter, I don't even exist, right? Yeah, and so you're, well, like for me, and some of this is social blind, but with 7 and 4, like I don't think anybody wants to hear any casual comment from me, as in just basic conversational stuff. Like it always, I mean, it's a stupid sort of super ego of 7 and 4, which is like every time I say something in a forum, it has to be strange, interesting, original, exotic, bizarre, or something, or outlandish, or else. Well, why? Who would care if I just agreed about? Oh yeah, I like that song too, or whatever. I just like what? Just like who would even want to hear me say that? Right? That's just like affirming that I don't exist or something. Like me too. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, no.
Like who does want to hear that?
Exactly.
Not me. Yeah. No, there.
See, you guys keep the pressure on me. I gotta be fucking weird and original.
Or you're out of the band. Yeah.
You're gonna hate me.
There is like
You're gonna hate me. That's back to the attachment piece, though.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a kind of triad between the body types, like from this like archetypal point of view. That's like like what I was speaking to earlier about like one of the things that does that like impress is not the right word, but there like confuses me is how like actually sensitive human beings are, like how much is required, like to make them feel loved and safe and grow and all this stuff. It's like all has to come together, and that's kind of like the baseline, which is sort of 9, right? Like there's everything has to be there. The sensitivity is all there.
Holding environment.
Yeah, like doing this stuff like with Josh, developmental view, also my instinct stuff, also just like my niece being born. It's like all these fucking things. Like our baseline, it's like before we even get to law of the jungle, we start in this like fake wholeness, like this, or a need for wholeness or something, which is like 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to like 8, which is like what you actually have to do to like survive in the material world. And then it goes to, all right, then like to like make sure it doesn't just stay in ruthlessness, needs to go to 1.
Right.
And then that 1 energy is like pulling it back into the 9 space, but it's like doing it, trying to get there where how can we have like basically like a communist utopia or something, but like
excellence or prospering.
Yeah, but it like we're almost like haven't dealt with the trauma of like leaving the 9 space in the first place and getting into the way reality is 8 space or something.
Sure.
And so it's all fucked up.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I think 8 and 1 are both trying to protect the 9-ness that they have internally.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And actually, the same thing with all the centers. Like 7 and 5 are trying to protect 6. Like they're trying. It's like a there's
good.
like a purity in all of the centers. 2 and 4 are trying to protect 3 because everyone does want to be held in wholeness. Everyone does want to be seen and loved. Everyone does want to be supported and guided. Like everybody does need all of those things. And so there was something I was going to say about like Bermuda. Kind of fading into the background. Obviously, we know where that archetype comes from, and like that gets, I don't know, exemplified in all of these different ways and day-to-day levels and all that. But like the biggest celebrities in the world are guaranteed Bermudas also. Right. You know, they're all 3s, they're all 6s, they're all, I guess mostly 3s and 9s, whatever, but they're all Bermudas. So there is a way that like, I don't know, sometimes with the conversation around Bermuda's kind of going fuzzy, I think even that is a hexad bias towards the wrongness of attachment. Like I think it actually is. It's actually like a wide cast net that it's going to try to catch as much as possible, and then use that material as like a platform to show up in.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like a big holding space.
Yeah, because there's ways like I mean I'm a 9 also, but I have seen like. 3s and 6, 3. No, I'm not. That's funny because there are some times that I like swear to God I'm a 6. I'm like they got it wrong. I'm a 6, and then I watch myself freak out, and I'm just like this. I'm like, okay, never mind. I'm a 9. Yeah, well, just I'm panicked, but I don't look like I'm panicking at all.
That's funny.
When disappearing into the wallpaper.
With David and I had like a conversation one time, and. Like fairly recently or something, and I was talking about Alexandra and how cozy she is or something, and you said something like she's a whole other kind of 9 or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the cozy levels.
Explain yourself
right
now.
Are so obscene, like are just so over the top. Like no other 9 is just so cozy, like
a human blanket.
Like
Thank you.
Incredible.
She takes that as a compliment.
I do take that as a compliment. You're very uncomfortable. You wish you could be more like this.
You wish. Keep projecting 9ness into the world.
You wish.
Whatever.
That he wished.
You think that the whole world is just a jungle full of brutality. You always have to be on guard. You just want to go to sleep. Like that's exhausting. I'm sorry, but you have to live that way.
I stay up.
I stay up and don't sleep.
Whatever.
I stay up. I have peace because my borders are fortified.
Whatever. You're trapped in those borders.
Right.
Alexandra is going.
Oh, actually, that's another thing, though.
Emeka has built a wall, and it's a beautiful wall.
Beautiful wall.
Big,
very, very big, beautiful wall.
You're trapped in the wall, though. You're trapped in the wall. That's the thing. It's like if we go back to this like archetype of like the attachment types are like the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have to build that wall. Nobody actually wants to be surrounded by a wall. You actually do want to be just like open and held and forced. This is very 9,
Emeka
but you
does not want to be open and held.
Yeah, you're talking about everyone.
Yes,
you're talking about 9s.
No, I'm talking about
She's
everyone.
Like, you want to be held.
Everyone.
You want to be held.
You do. Look at who you're dating. You want to be held.
Alexandra,
Look at your girlfriend. Yes,
she's
you do.
She's not a holding type.
Yes,
Sorry.
she is.
Sorry.
Dude, yes, she is.
She's not a nurturer. Sorry.
Okay, I'm right.
Sorry.
Audience, I'm correct.
Your philosophy doesn't work for me.
Alexandra, attachment types project sameness.
No, I'm right. I'm
right.
In this situation.
I want to be held.
John wants to be held too. Okay,
she wants that to be so true. The idea that a type could just be more solitary and actually happy.
I'm pretty solitary.
No. You live
but I
within
see your bad
brackets.
point. Yeah, no, I see your bad point.
There's very different types within the Enneagram, and
yeah.
Alexandra, your fortified wall is blankets.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. I am a withdrawn type.
And we probably need more pillows.
Yeah, and kitties.
I mean, I've got I think I've got 7 pillows on this bed, something like that. might need to add some more.
Yes,
I am my own holding. I hold myself. Thank you very much. I hug myself to sleep every night.
All right, we're gonna have to stop conversation here because we don't. It's a dead end.
It's gonna be a war.
He's not gonna receive me. Double rejections. Just he's living in his.
You're
sad
talking
walls.
way past me. You're not even talking about me.
You're just rejecting it. Okay.
No,
All right,
no,
but it's
you're
fine.
not, You're
it's
not
fine.
even getting it.
No,
you're
it's
not
fine.
even getting me.
No, it's fine. I'll get thoughts and prayers to Emika.
They're just
Gotta
bouncing
figure out how
off
to
my
inject
walls.
frustration into this somehow. Maybe that I'm bored of this conversation.
Yeah, I actually need to go. Let's get the hell out of here.
Is it 8:44? All right, yeah. We'll see if there's anything worth posting in all of that.
Yeah.
If not, it was fun.
No,
It's
this
fun.
was
fun. Yeah.
I kind of liked it. I said some good things, so that's what matters.
Yeah, David.
That's all that
matters. That's what we need.
We got a mini seminar as always.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Later.
Okay. Talk to you guys.
All right.
Be in touch.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.